Every story leaves a mark. Some are carved into stone, others are carried across the sea, remembered long after the waves that witnessed them have passed. This is Simple Tales. Long ago, the city of Athens lived beneath a shadow. It was not a shadow cast by storm clouds or warships, but by a promise forced upon the city after a bitter defeat. Across the sea lay the island kingdom of Crete, ruled by King Minos. As punishment for Athens, Minos demanded a terrible tribute. Every few years, 7 young men and 7 young women were to be sent across the sea to Crete. None returned. The people knew what awaited them. Deep beneath the palace of Minos stood the Labyrinth, a maze so vast and confusing that no one who entered could find their way out again. At its center lived the Minotaur, a creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull, a monster that fed upon those sent into its prison. Year after year, the tribute continued. And year after year, Athens mourned. When the time came for another group to be chosen, a young prince stepped forward. His name was Theseus. He was the son of King Aegean, ruler of Athens, and he could not bear to watch his people suffer any longer. "I will go," he declared. The king pleaded with him to reconsider, but Theseus had already made his decision. Before the ship departed, he made a promise to his father. The vessel would sail to Crete beneath black sails, the color of mourning. But if he succeeded, if he survived and returned home, he would replace them with white sails so that Athens would know victory had been won. King Aegean embraced his son and watched as the ship disappeared beyond the horizon. Days later, Theseus arrived in Crete. The palace of King Minos rose above the sea like a fortress, magnificent and imposing. Yet beneath its splendor lay the maze that had consumed so many lives. It was there that fate intervened. Among those who saw the young prince was Ariadne, daughter of King Minos. She watched him among the condemned youths and felt both admiration and sorrow. Unlike the others, Theseus carried himself not as a victim, but as a man walking toward a purpose. Unable to bear the thought of his death, Ariadne sought a way to help him. The secret came from Daedalus, the brilliant architect who had designed the labyrinth itself. He told her what no one else knew. The maze could be entered, but finding the exit was another matter entirely. So, Ariadne gave Theseus a simple gift, a ball of thread. "When you enter," she told him, "tie one end at the entrance and carry the rest with you. However deep the maze may lead, the thread will show you the way home." Theseus accepted the gift and thanked her. Then the day arrived. The great doors of the labyrinth opened. The condemned youths were driven inside, and the doors closed behind them. first, the maze seemed silent. Cold stone passages stretched in every direction. Corridors branched into more corridors. Every turn looked like the last. Theseus tied the thread to the entrance and began to walk. As he moved deeper into the maze, he unwound it behind him. The sounds of the outside world vanished. No wind, no birds, no voices, only the faint scrape of footsteps against stone. The others remained close, afraid of becoming separated. Time lost its meaning within the twisting passages. Minutes felt like hours. Every corner seemed to lead nowhere. Yet the thread continued to guide them forward. Then, somewhere ahead, they heard it. A heavy sound, a slow breath, the scrape of something enormous moving through the darkness. The Minotaur. The creature emerged from the shadows like a nightmare given form. Its massive body filled the corridor. Horns curved from its head. Its eyes reflected the dim light like burning coals. For years, it had ruled the center of the labyrinth. For years, no victim had escaped, but this time was different. Theseus stepped forward. The monster charged. The maze echoed with the sound of the struggle. Stone walls shook with the force of their battle. Again and again, the Minotaur attacked, and again, Theseus met it head on. At last, after a fierce struggle deep within the heart of the maze, the beast fell. For the first time in years, silence returned to the center of the labyrinth. The cycle of sacrifice was over. But victory alone could not save them. They still had to escape. Theseus gathered the others and followed the thread. Through countless turns and winding corridors, they retraced their path. The farther they walked, the more impossible the maze seemed. Without Ariadne's thread, they would have wandered forever. At last, they saw daylight. The entrance stood before them. And beyond it lay freedom. That very night, Theseus, Ariadne, and the rescued youths fled Crete and sailed away before King Minos could stop them. The sea stretched wide before them. For the first time since arriving on the island, they could breathe without fear. The monster was dead. The tribute was ended. Athens would rejoice. Days later, the coast of Greece appeared on the horizon. But amid relief, celebration, and exhaustion, one small thing escaped Theseus's mind. The black sails remained raised above the ship. Far away, King Aegeus stood watching the sea. Every day, he climbed the cliffs and searched the horizon for signs of his son's return. At last, he saw a ship approaching. He saw the familiar shape of its mast. He saw the vessel drawing closer, and he saw the black sails. In that moment, his heart broke. The promise had been clear. White sails meant life. Black sails meant death. Believing his son had perished in Crete, Aegeus surrendered to despair and threw himself from the cliffs into the sea below. Only later did the ship arrive. Only later did Theseus see what his forgotten promise had cost. He had defeated the Minotaur. He had escaped the labyrinth. He had freed Athens from its burden. Yet victory had arrived, carrying tragedy in its wake. And so the sea that received King Aegeus became known forever as the Aegean Sea. The monster was slain. The maze was conquered. But the story endured because of a forgotten promise and a father who never lived to see the triumph he had prayed for. Thank you for listening to Theseus and the Minotaur. If you enjoyed this tale from Greek mythology, please like the video, subscribe to Simple Tales, and share it with others who love myths, legends, and timeless stories. Until our next journey into the world's timeless tales. Thank you for listening.